Okay. Okay.
Yeah, right, and audio is on.
All righty. Looks like we are all here, present and accounted for. I would like to call the Wednesday, July 9th, 2025 Public Safety and Licensing Committee meeting to order. The first item of business would be a roll call, please.
Alderman Widener,
Present?
Alder Kelly,
Present.
Alder Pete,
Present.
Alder Pavone,
Present.
Alder Frazier.
To be excused.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item would be the approval of the minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes from our last meeting?
Move to approve. Second was fine.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the minutes from our June 25th meeting. Any corrections, additions? Being none, all those in favor of the motion to approve? Say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. So our new deputy clerk, who I'd like to introduce is Sam, your last name?
Williams.
Sam Williams is our new deputy clerk. Welcome aboard. We're happy to have you.
Welcome here. Happy to be
And-
here.
Thank you. And Sam will be reading each of the items on our agenda tonight.
Well, thanks. Item 0662-25, new massage establishment application for Lake and Hess, doing business as Lake House, located at 2000 Wisconsin Avenue, Lake and Hess agent.
Is Lakin here? No Lakin yet? If we could move that item to the back of the agenda, we'll do that, if there's no objection. All right, next item, please.
Item 0620-25, a new massage establishment application for Y1 Zoo, doing business as Lucky Y1 Zoo Therapy, located at 906 State Street, Y1 Zoo agent, First District.
Wywen, are you here? You want to come up to the table, please? Do you speak English?
She's not speaking well, but
Okay.
I'm not good for better than I'm
That's fine, come on up. Come on up, welcome. What is your name?
Excited.
Exile.
Nice to meet you guys.
So our city attorney will swear you both in.
If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Of course.
Thank you. You can put your hands down.
Okay. I think we've all had an opportunity to read your application. I did have one question, if the committee would indulge me, and that is, on this application, we have your address listed as 989 West Mason Street, but we don't have a city. Where do you live?
Oh, we live right now. We live in the same Green Bay. And I have live in the Madison. She same before in the Madison. Then we come Green Bay. We live in Green Bay just in here.
Okay, can you talk a little slower and a little louder, because
Okay, so
you really gotta talk to this goofy thing right here.
we do, before we in the Madison, I have a restaurant in the Madison, she work with me. Then you gotta have my second license, so we in Green Bay, 1704, apartment in the Green Bay. Right now, we move to Brisbane here, so we have a apartment in the drive like 80 minutes, 335 in the street, right now.
So you drive 80 minutes, is that what you said?
Right now, apartment drive like 80 minutes.
Okay. Okay, all righty, any questions from the committee? We do have a letter here. I believe that the city attorney may wish to speak to this.
Sure, as we've been doing on these massage applications, the Racine County Sheriff's Office has been assisting the city in investigating any of the applications we get to see if there's any information that would be helpful in approving or denying them. Specifically, this investigation had found that there was connections between this applicant and other massage establishments that have advertisements for commercial sex services. One was at 2247 Independence Lane, in which there was at least one website utilized for listing and submitting reviews for commercial sex services that had identified that address. Also a location in Mount Pleasant that had the same thing, where there was recent reviews for Shiatsu Spa that had, reviews indicating that it's being used for, sex services.
So I believe,
I just, we bought a new, we just bought a new, I don't know that before, there is, I don't know before, we bought it right now.
no,
This is based on the, applicants, not based on the property, so the, Wewin Zoo is the name that we looked up, and that name is connected to 2247 Independence Lane, and 2247 Independence Lane, known as Double Win Massage, is listed on websites that advertise commercial sex services.
We never do that, we never, and also, we never do that, and then we bought a new, so we not the half, I still not half of the advertisement. We don't pay anyone to do that advertisement, you know, so that's our girl, I don't know that before, I just pay 5,000, buy from other girls. She says she wanna sell, so we work in a restaurant, so too hard working, so like if it's maybe she told me that, maybe can make like 2,000 months. I said, okay, maybe 2,000 months, which is about, how much is it, 5,000, we pay 5,000 dollars for, CRA. So that's it, we don't do, still not do our president. I don't know. I just about a new one in April. So I don't know, they are go, our president, I don't know. So right now, we don't, and my phone number not came for, so also we just finished my last week, 2 weeks ago.
can I just interject here? So you are not the applicant, correct?
We got, yes,
She's the applicant, and she's the one that we should be hearing from. So if you need to interpret it for her, that's one thing. So if you can tell her what the city attorney just said and let her respond to that, that would be very helpful, if you please.
就是他就说他说你做了那个广告，你做广告的那个信任已经是因为啊，那工作而是
So what did,
其实是都是 every advertisement 一样。
I'm sorry, I didn't understand
I
what you
told
said.
her you said to the advertisement to have sex or something. She said no, you never, yeah, you don't do that. Well, of course, we never do that. In the future, we not do the advertisement in the same. I don't do that. This is a Google, beautiful Google, okay, we don't do other stuff.
Okay. So,
So we full English is only.
okay. So are there any questions from the committee members? Alderman Pete?
Thank you. First of all, I'm not clear on your answer. I appreciate and respect the language difficulty, but you're saying that you were, could you explain what she said? Let's start there. Yes, is she a part of this organization? Did you buy it? Exactly what happened? How was your name associated with it?
See, April, we bought the store from other girls. Before that, people paid 5,000 we bought. So after that, I don't do that advertisement. This is maybe stay I go to something, or we don't stay everything. I don't do that advertisement.
But did you have, can you have?
他说，就是说你在什么时候买的，就是4月份的时候，他那个广告就是4月份的，说这个是在4月份4月份就是4月份 April about this.
So you've never worked with the organization in question, is that what you're saying?
No confirm, no advertisement for sanitary, no.
She hasn't worked for that organization.
Oh, she worked inside, yes, she did work inside, she before working inside, yes.
No, with the organization that we're talking about in question that has a website.
Yeah, she know what I'm talking
She
about.
worked with that organization, she worked with that company?
No, not work there, she not what we talking about, she not working there.
So let's just clarify. So what was found on the website by the investigator is a different. Her name, one's name is listed with other massage organizations.
So it's listed as, Wewin Zoo is associated with 2247 Independence Lane. 2247 Independence Lane is associated with these advertisements.
Okay,
And from what I believe that they are saying is they are saying that they are not individuals that were associated with these ads were made before they owned it, is what it sounds like.
So have you ever worked at 2247 Independence Lane?
Twenty-two forty-seven Independence Lane,
No, we live, no. 他说你工作啊，你来是 no, we never, no, I don't.
in Madison.
Madison, what address?
2247 Independence Lane,
哎，那个40447。
double wing massage.
Oh, that was many years ago. Right, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So many years ago, she worked like a, you did live there for many years.
Okay, was that your question, Alderman Pete?
Yes, pardon.
Okay,
That's just before COVID, so after left that COVID, to not in there.
okay. Alderman Pavone, you had a question? Were you done, Alderman Pete?
No, when was the last time that you worked for the other company? A date, a year?
最后一年的，那就是给人民币了啊，给人民币，
I'm sorry,
给人民币。Last year, we like
last year?
working like a movie last year.
And you worked with the same company last year?
Yeah, yes, just no, not the same company, not in that destination there.
So can she answer the question you're to interpret for her?
就是last 最后一年你在哪里用？人背，人背。
Did anyone understand that? I did not.
Green Bay,
Nah.
Green Bay.
In Green Bay, in Green Bay,
Oh, Green Bay.
in Green.
Because I was her together, so I know her. But we work together. Thank you guys. Sorry about that.
I'm still not clear on the answer as to when the last time you worked at 2247 Independence Lane in Madison.
Well, you have to make it. Yeah. We just a team, we know. Which is one of the things. The 2020 should be for COVID. Later, already left there, for the baby.
So you have,
5 years ago, left.
she hasn't worked there since the year 2020, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, now for 5 years, no. And then she go to China, she mom is sick, dad sick. So she go to China, half a year, then come back and something. She stay in China, hope stay 1.5 year, almost 2 years.
Alderman Pavone, you had a question?
Yeah,
Okay.
so you stated that you moved from, was it Green Bay to Madison or Madison to Green Bay?
Before in the medicine, so then in the Green Bay, so
Okay.
that's China. So last year she won't give Green Bay, I'm in Green Bay. So
Okay,
just know April we come to listen, we bought here. So the people come, so I see here's good area, I like the people, so I just, okay, this is about a store, it's gonna pay 5,000. And I make a little money, that's why I think.
so this particular establishment she worked for though in Madison, was known to have these kind of commercial sex services. So I just want to be clear that she is denying any knowledge of those.
No, she lived there.
Can you ask her, please?
Absolutely,那那你把他的广告做完新。是的，no, she just worked there 5 years ago.
5 years ago, but how long did she work there?
你在那里work there？你可以有先生，刚有先生，34年是20，she says 2016 between 2019.
Okay, so 3 to 4 years
Yeah,
Okay.
2016 between 2019.
and no knowledge of any of those services. Okay,
If I may ask
Thank
a
you.
question of the city attorney. So when. So I have a question for the city attorney. So when the investigator does his report, he is both investigating the individual of the applicant and any establishment that individual had been associated with.
Yes. So I will say it is all based on research on advertisements and things like that. He does not do any direct interviews of anyone. He uses a variety of both publicly accessible and some private information to do these searches on the premises on which the individual has reported they worked in the past and the individual's license themselves.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee members?
What about the, if I may, Madam
Yes,
Chair,
absolutely.
Shiatsu Spa? That was submitted recently to the Village of Mount Pleasant, right?
We
But
just about, same, we just about, because before we work at restaurant, and years ago, I have restaurant in Madison, I give sushi. So then I reached I have partner not do it, so chili money, so I just gave up. So I come here with her together, we just about right now, we just about like, not even 1 month, maybe just before 1.5 months. We bought it with application there.
And for this particular one, I mean, this kind of spa is also known for the same kind of association to those commercial sex services. How do you know these people that you're buying the spa from?
Advertisement in the summer, advertisement, they wanna sell the store.
Can you confirm that with her?
你怎么知道？要买的店里说什么的，就是有的那个采访的那个。那你投就是你怎么知道那门店有卖你采访的？我也不知道怎么说。其实don't know speaking yeah, it's weird, yeah, I know that. It's because some people say, oh, somewhere have the massage store wants to sell, and they do the commercial, you know, some massage people have to do. Someone tell me, I just call, they have phone number, I just call, hey, you want to sell? Yeah. I said, do you do great stuff? Yeah. I said, do you guys do better? She said, no. I said, okay. I said, how much? They said, maybe say 8,000, maybe 5,000. I just, I always say 10,000, we just calculate it. She said, okay, we just buy it. So then they said, do you have license? And the other boss have license. We just, they said, we just go, she did take the application to get a license. That's it. I don't know. We just, don't pay for that. That's it.
Thank you.
The preference of the committee, do we have a motion? Motion would be,
I have to say nothing.
Alder Allen,
Can I direct it to the city attorney?
you can.
Okay, so when you were doing your investigation, and I understood you said that you were investigating business and an individual, but does that include like an arrest record or anything like that?
To be clear, I contacted the Racine County Sheriff's Office, who has an investigator who specializes in this. I did not do the investigation myself. I forwarded him the application and requested him look into it. So some of those questions are based on his research, but based on his research, he looked into both of those things. He did a background investigation into both the applicant and the previous locations associated with that applicant.
Thank you, thank you. Now we're ready to move forward. Well, if you have other questions, if you have other questions for the city attorney's office, please contact them.
This issue, as an alderman, I can speak.
Not on this item.
Yes, I do.
Point of order. First of all, I'd like to ask a question myself. How do you feel about this?
What is your point of order?
I'm
You
sorry.
called a point of
No,
order. The
because
chair would like
I
to.
wanted to help move along here, and we were having the other side discussion, but I wasn't finished answering questions.
Well, during the discussion of an individual's application, it is not an appropriate time for members that are not on this committee, members of council not on this committee, or the public to get in a conversation with city staff or this committee or the applicants.
Now, I asked if I could, as a standing
And
member of the committee, if I could speak with the city attorney. And just as when I was in a
Okay.
meeting and you allowed a.
I'm gonna ask,
Speak over me.
I'm gonna ask that you leave. I'm gonna ask that you leave
Well, I'm not going to.
because you're disrupting this
Well,
meeting.
because I
Point of
think
order,
it's
Madam
the
Chair.
treatment that you gave.
According to Robert's, according to Robert's rules, when we call a point of order, it's up to the chair to decide on whether that speaker gets to continue or not. For the sake of this meeting, can we please have a ruling by the chair so we can move forward?
The ruling is the individual is allowed to ask a question. There's not gonna be a back and forth question and answer period. There's not gonna be a back and forth commentary or discussion. It's the committee's responsibility to have reviewed the information on the application and to make a decision based on what the applicant tells us, what the city attorney's office tells us, what the investigator tells us, what the police department tells us, what the city clerk's office tells us. So at this point, we are going to move forward with a motion on this item.
Move to deny.
Second. We have a motion and a second to deny the license. Any discussion on that motion?
I trust our sheriff's office, I trust the specialty of that, and I find it is possible for things to happen in a company or a business that all employees don't know about. In this particular circumstance, I don't think that that is the case. So I do not think this would be beneficial to the community, and I trust that our law enforcement officials, especially our specialists, know what they're talking about. So that's why I'm in support of denying this.
Thank you very much for that. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion to deny, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. So your license has been denied. So
we can say something, because we just bought a new, and of course, you say the, advertisement, of course, I don't do the advertisement. I found a new, I found level 6, you change, I don't do advertisement, and not active, I don't do it. So, because that's the past, so just now when.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but the committee has made a determination. This is not final. This is just a recommendation that will come to that coming from this committee. It will go to the common council meeting next Tuesday. If you have questions for either the attorney's office, you can contact the attorney's office. If you have questions for the clerk's office, you can contact them. Is there anything we can tell this individual?
No, it will come before the common council, as the chair said. I believe that would be next Tuesday, the 15th. And you're more than welcome to appear for public comment, where you get 3 minutes to speak on the item if you so choose.
Okay, and there are 15 members of the common council that will make the final determination. Tonight's ruling is simply a recommendation from this committee based on the information that was provided to us. Thank you. I'm sorry. We have any Kleenex?
It's not my room.
There's some paper towels.
No, no, I wouldn't.
Thank you. That's okay. That's okay. So next Tuesday, 6 o'clock, here at the library in this room.
Yeah, I said, don't do anything, I tell them, I said, we just put a Google advertisement, and we don't do any, I know they teach people, that's why I asked them, I said, are you guys do bad stuff, you know, I said, do any else, you know, so I don't know how to check this, so I got, it seems like something like that. I'm so ready.
Next item, please. Next item, please.
Item 0663-25, a new cigarette, tobacco, and electronic vaping device retail license application for Saba Inc. is doing business as Fastlink located at 1405 Washington Avenue. Dr. Nasser Alayan, agent.
Okay, and I just want to make note for the committee that Alderman Fraser has zoomed in, so he is the alderman of the district, so if he's had a chance to review the application, would like to weigh in first, we'd be happy to hear from him. If not, this must be the doctor.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we need to swear in?
Let me check. This is the first time we are doing this, so, we will swear you in. You could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, according to your application, you are applying for a license to sell vape items, and your premise is located next to the liquor depot on Washington Avenue, according to your application. 1405 Washington Avenue. You'll sell cell phone? What is that?
Yeah, there are cell phone and electronics. And just is gonna be my address also, I'm putting vape in the shop, in the location, it's next to the liquor dealer solution.
Okay,
Just some items, few items, not a lot. To attract attention and to be able to do the sales and all these things. That's basically the idea. Well, mainly right on the focus of the shop, there's one thing, other options, just like pictures, things like that. That to be different than the liquor stores, because he's selling liquor, everything, he sells everything. And the idea was just to be in line with the order of the city. And not to have any violation or anything of that nature.
Okay, just so you know, this is new that we call in someone that's applying for a vape license. And I think the reason for that is because we've had such a huge proliferation of vape stores. So that's the reason why we're changing that. And now you want to open a vape store next to a premise that already has sells vapes and.
It's just the items I get slightly different, and not only that, the ability to fix these items, the vape, if it breaks or something like that, because it's basically the electronic aspect of it. That's the main interest that I have, and also if I would cigarettes or something like that, something different. I need it to be in line with the city order and not to be in violation of the law, so please don't come and take it. That's it.
Is there anything from the city attorney's office that we can say about this new protocol that we have?
So this new protocol, the state has, there's a concept under the law called preemption. Effectively, the state has said, here are all the rules for tobacco or cigarette tobacco and vape product retailers. Cities can adopt those rules. They can have a decision made to issue a license based on a committee. There are very few reasons for which that this committee could recommend a denial of a license. Effectively, those only reasons would be if there was a materially false statement or omission on a new or renewal license application, or if there was a criminal record. I looked at the material, I didn't see anything of those two sorts. I want to be very clear, this committee cannot deny a license based on proximity to other tobacco retailers or based on a number of tobacco retailers in a neighborhood or some other criteria indicating the committee does not like the business proposal. It's only based on whether the application has been filled out truly and correctly and whether the individual does not have a reasonably related criminal record.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Do you have any
Well-
questions from the committee members?
I would just ask general question in terms of your business hours, number of employees.
It's a new business, it's a small location, as you heard, I said, Dr. Nasser, I teach at Bryan Stater College, and I both did teach at the University of Parkside in the chemistry department. My teaching aspect of it is early in the morning, from 8 o'clock until 12 or 1 o'clock, sometimes it varies, I usually do teach as part-time. The shop is just after that, basically, trying to put the food on the table, that's what it is, it's so really an extra. The hours usually supposed to be from 10 until 9 or from 11 until 9. But usually I finish going 10 and come to the shop after 2:30, 3 o'clock. And I stay until that basically.
Do you anticipate on having any employees?
In the future, right now, as slow as snail, basically, because the busy shop is the next door. He's extremely busy.
Very,
Yes, and we have been in there for 50 years, to my knowledge,
which
the liquor store.
you would greatly in my next question in terms of parking, ingress and egress in that area. As you said, it's a very congested area certain times of the day. So have you thought about those areas? Do you have a plan?
Yes, on that one, there's enough parking space in that lot. It will fit, I believe, maybe about 20 or 25 cars in that location. Because the shop, it looks kind of weird a little bit. Where the front of the store, you cannot park because it's on the 14th Street. So they have to come to the back area and park the cars over there. And there's a large area for the stores. So it should be sufficient parking space in there. Anticipating in the future if we get this, that's not the job, so.
Question for the attorney's office. This committee is only responsible for this application and the license for the vaping product, correct?
It is all tobacco, nicotine products, so tobacco, cigarettes, vaping, yes.
Do we have any authority over the ability of this gentleman to buy, lease, rent a storefront and operate at any certain hours? Do we have any oversight over that?
No, I do not see anything in the ordinances we've adopted or the or the state law that would allow us to set his own hours for him or to enforce a certain set of hours.
Okay,
So I would say no, that whatever hours he has picked in the business plan that he proposes, then those are the hours that he gets.
so in that sense, it's a different from a licensed premise where they have hours of operations and whatnot. Thank you for that. Appreciate that clarification. Any other questions from the committee members?
It's just a question, clarification for the city attorney.
Sure.
So you said you didn't see anything that allows us to, kind of regulate those things, but is there anything that prohibits us from doing that?
Yes, there is a statute, part of the state statutes which requires a city to strictly conform to state law on this. And state law does not regulate the hours like that, so we cannot go beyond state law, we also cannot go less than state law, we have to follow state law as it's set forth.
Okay, are we ready to make a motion?
Motion to approve seems more of a formality.
We have a motion, a second to approve the license. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate it. So the clerk's office will tell you what we could expect to happen.
Sure, so this will go to the common council on Tuesday for the final yay, nay, approval or denial, and after that, as long as all your sign offs are done, your license will be issued. So you need to know where, you do not have to attend, you can if you'd like, but you do not have to. After that meeting, if all your sign offs are done, it'll just be mailed to you. If you have questions about which sign offs you still need, you can call the clerk's office and be happy to
You're
help.
gonna send me a letter with this information, so I know what time to come.
Anytime, so the meeting is on Tuesday night. If anytime after that, if you wanna call on Wednesday or after, you're more than welcome to. You will not receive, 6 o'clock on Tuesday is the next meeting.
And it will be
In
here
this
this week.
Yeah, I like it. I got.
You're not required to attend unless you want to speak to the council.
Sometimes, that's comes with the degrees.
No, all right. Well, thank you very much.
Good day.
All righty, next item, please.
Item 0644-25, requesting the appearance of Erica Ann Vargas for a new operator's license.
Hey, do we have Erica here? Erica's not here. This is the first time we've invited her in.
Right.
We'll kind of shove this to the back agenda. That's all right. All right, next item, please.
Item 0656-25 to discuss. I'm sorry, did I skip one on you? Oh, I'm sorry, I
You
did.
did, yeah.
Item 0645-25, requesting the appearance of Marie Ann Regals for a new operator's license.
There you are. That's who you are. Here it is. I thank you for your patience and the city attorney's office will swear you in.
You raise your right hand, you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Hey. Maybe the city attorney's office will explain why she's come in for this.
I'll-
Dig through all my papers.
So,
Thank you.
under state law, there is a requirement, or under state liquor law, to be a operator of a establishment, effectively a bartender. There are requirements related to criminal convictions. There are certain convictions or certain types of convictions that would disqualify an applicant unless this committee were to find proof of rehabilitation. And then they could determine that that the applicant has been rehabilitated and grant the license.
Okay, so what I see here on your application. And the disqualifier is that you have a pending case.
Correct, it is for disorderly conduct. And I do have a pending, this agreement with the Kenosha District Attorney's Office. In October, it's supposed to be just dropped onto a ticket instead of a charge, because I completed all of the requirements they asked me to do. One of those requirements was, an anger management class with the Brooklyn, District Attorney's Office. And which I sent a copy of that as well to the city's office, as well as a letter from my husband, who has been around since, he was the victim in that case. So I did submit that as well. I think there was like a accusation or something, but again, I will not be having the conviction because I completed all requirements, so.
You've taken the bartender, the
Of course,
course, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
yes,
And then where are you going to be working?
here in Racine. I'm just not sure where yet, I was getting my license first before applying to country club or bar, et cetera.
Cause I thought I saw a country club on your
Yes, I was
application.
going to apply to Meadowbrook.
Okay. Are there any questions from the committee members?
Start.
Oh, go ahead, Alderman Pete.
You mentioned some anger management classes. Were these through the county, state, private?
Racine County.
County.
Yeah, the case that I currently have pending is in Kenosha, but I live in Racine, so they, told me that I could do, anger management class here, and so I already completed that back in March. I think.
Was it bar and bar related?
No, it was a domestic,
Okay.
yes.
So,
Alderman Pavone, you had a question?
yeah, clarification from the city attorney here. I mean, technically the charges are pending, right? And the state statute says that we're prohibited from granting an operator's license to a person with an arrest or conviction record. Well, technically, since it's pending, is the record not actually there yet?
So because of the type of arrest that it was,
Okay,
being a disorderly conduct with the domestic violence enhancer, it's considered what's the exact word for it? A pending charge for crime against life or bodily security, so it's a bodily security. That is one of the few pending charges that can be counted against an applicant.
okay. That's right. Thank you. Do you plan to, for the applicant here, do you plan to have a career with this kind of license? Like, is this,
It's just to put food on my table right now.
okay?
It's been very hard for me to get a job because of this pending case. So I figured, bartending in the meantime until I find full-time, stable, career. It's just something that I can do on the side in the meantime.
And with what you have done, in regards to your charges, whatnot, or pending charges, do you feel that you are equipped to handle any potential belligerent
Absolutely.
clients that may come across? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Questions from any of the other committee members? Can Alderman Fraser hear us? Is he able to weigh in? Cause I can't see if his hand is up.
Alder Frazier, can you hear us? I've been watching for his hand to be up to kind of flag you. I did get a report that his microphone was not working, but I did see him unmute at one point. Alder Frazier, is your microphone working now?
So the only way we'd be able to register a vote that he had is for him to raise his hand and unmute.
Yes,
I think.
I would need some sort of indication. from
Okay,
him,
gotcha.
however we need to do that.
All right, any other questions from the committee members? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the operator's license. Any further discussion on that motion?
I think it's a good thing that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and people deserve a second chance, so I really hope that this allows you to. If the committee decides to approve it, I hope it allows you to kind of get your life on the path that you want.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Appreciate those comments. Okay, all those in favor, if there's no other discussion, all those in favor of the motion to approve, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. So this is a recommendation that will go to council next Tuesday. And the clerk's office could tell you what to expect.
Correct, after council, we'll just automatically mail it out on time.
Okay, thank you,
Well, good luck in your endeavors.
thank you.
Thank you.
Uh,
All righty. So next item,
Item 0656-25 to discuss the requirements for operators or agents of a license to provide proof of rehabilitation.
okay. This was a discussion that we wanted to have in regards to the letter that goes out to the operators regarding providing documentation of rehabilitation. And in the letter, it states it should go to the clerk's office by Thursday. And we've been very, very lenient in allowing the applicants to present their material here or during the meeting. So I guess we want to have a discussion. Do we want to change the language in the letter? To rather than you must, to you should or you could, or do we, what's the preference of the committee on that? Alderman Pete?
Well, thank you. I think we should have very specific language. I also think that by Thursday, all the paperwork be in, so that it gives us an opportunity as a committee to review it. I think we all know of examples where it's kind of gone both ways. People would bring in papers, oh, yes, I have this, or no, I forgot that. And I think for equity, fairness, and consistency, we should set a specific guideline. Have everything in by Thursday, so that if we have questions, we're not sitting here following through paper trying to read.
Okay, well, let's look at the timeline of that. The communication comes to the council on Tuesday night. Then the clerk's office would take all that information and would send out a letter to the operator, the applicant. And that would maybe happen on Wednesday?
We 10 minutes have to be done first, so
Okay.
Wednesday afternoon or Thursday morning.
Okay, so they might not get that letter out until Thursday?
Meetings are on Tuesday, then yeah, Wednesday afternoon or Thursday morning, the following day.
So then we meet the next Wednesday, so they really would have no time. Unless we're going to delay for a committee meeting when they come in, to give them more time to gather the documents that they need to gather in that letter. So that's the concern that I have, and I think that's probably why most of the applicants bring their documents into this committee, because by the time they get the letter, gather the documents, they don't have the time to give it to the clerk prior to. So I know the clerk's office usually has our agenda and most of the documents together by Friday morning. That's when the clerk's office, the attorney's office, myself and the vice chair meet and discuss the. I think if we would get, if we want to strictly enforce that language, I'm fine with that, but I think we have to give them more time. So what does the clerk's office think would be a good timeline to get the information to you, to get it to us prior to the meeting?
Sure, so if it was looking to get to you prior to the meeting, oh. It would have to be by Monday morning and it would be emailed out separately. Now that's pending whether or not, right, they give it to our licensing lead or to Sam and I directly, and then we have it and don't have any other meetings that day to be able to email the committee. I will say that no matter how the committee decides to proceed, as long as the clerk's office retains a copy of it. So oftentimes when operators come in, they have one copy and they want to bring that copy home. And that doesn't allow us to have a full record. So I would ask the committee, if you do switch it to, they can present it at the meeting, to at least allow the language to read that a copy will be kept by the clerk's office for the record. I think the problem we encounter is, okay, now we have one copy and they want it back and we need it for the record. And so however the committee decides to proceed, we can work with it, but having a copy is preferable.
Yeah, I just think the turnaround time for them to be notified of the documents they need and to get those documents from the different entities that they need to get it from. And for example, if they need to get something from the State Department, that could take them centuries. So.
I would agree with the clerk's office, even with on Monday. Maybe, you know, around 2 o'clock. If possible, because that gives time for lunches, you know, lunch to be done and all that stuff. So there's a few more people to help, because days do get busy, especially Mondays. I don't have the current issue besides what Alderman Widener raised about the process, but I just would like to see it actually enforced, because if we change, you know, to allow them to submit the day of, right before they're gonna give us, we're gonna question them. We don't really have time to get to the granular analytical parts of it and make sure that we're reading what we think we're reading. And on top of that, it also puts that responsibility on them. We'll give them more time. If you're showing up without it, you're asking us to make an exception for you. then, have the respect for that and the committee's time. If you're wanting us, that's kind of like your first barrier,
Mhm.
first gateway, so I'm fine with moving it to Monday to give them more time at 2, but I do think, or 2 or 3 or 11, whatever the committee decides. But I do think it needs to be more enforced, whenever that change does occur. Thank you.
I'm fine, oh, thank you. I'm fine with that. I'm wondering though if the committee would consider, should the applicant bring in their documents to the meeting, if we would say we're gonna accept your documents tonight and we're gonna defer this item to our next meeting to give us an opportunity to review the documents you're providing.
I wouldn't have a problem with that if the applicant is notified with the application or something, so it's not the first time that they're hearing that.
So maybe when we send out the letters noticing as well, if any documents are brought night of the commission, it, will be deferred to the following committee meeting or something of that sort. Just so we have time to review it, make sure we're doing our due diligence. It's kind of hard, everybody's staring.
So what we could do also is if they come in and they provide their documents, we can interview them as we do with the applicants, but we can tell them there will not be a decision made until we have an opportunity to review those documents. A decision would be made at the following meeting, so they didn't have to come back again unless they wanted to find out how we were gonna approve or deny. Would
That
that,
would be fine, as long as they understood that when they came in, brought the documents in, so if the clerk notified them up front, that's fine.
Is this a particular ordinance or something that allows us to do this, or is this like an SOP that we've been doing for years?
I would say it's just a historical practice, sorry, I should have asked
No,
the question.
no,
It's just a
chime right in.
historical practice that the
Yeah.
committee has been doing, it's more about policy than it would be an ordinance or required by law.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I'm figuring like, if we can get a proposed, this is the language that we're changing the letter to. And all Chair Whitener, Vice Chair Kelly could look at it, and as long as they're okay with it, like, oh yeah, this is good. Just so we make sure we catch up any hiccups before we officially revise.
well, how about this? How about we all look at them?
Yeah. Okay.
And then we all decide together
Yeah.
if it
Would that-
covers all the bases that we're all, because I think we're all concerned about the same thing, but
Right.
we come back at it from a little bit different direction.
Would that have to go to the city clerk or the attorney's office to draft to make sure it's still legal? And then we see it, or how does?
If the committee still wishes to defer the item to the next public safety and licensing, I'm sure the clerk's office and attorney's office can work collaboratively on creating language in a new letter to present to the committee.
Who's going to draft it?
Clerk's
They would work
office with
collaboratively.
the attorney's office.
We get along, we'll be okay. Correct, we can collaborate together and then bring it back before the committee if the committee so chooses to review it together and vote on it to make it formally adopted.
And you caught all that discussion?
I think I get the spirit of the discussion, we'll
Okay.
see if I can put it into words. We'll do our best.
Thank you, thank you. So if there's no objection, we can defer this item. Do we need a motion to defer?
Yes, please.
Motion to defer.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to defer this item to our next meeting. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Hi,
Oh.
it finally works. I'm sorry.
Good. Well, Alderman Fraser has weighed in. All right, welcome. All right, so motion passes. Okay, next item, please. Oh,
Item 0669-25, a report from the Racine Police Department regarding the public safety issues unrelated to a licensed premise.
okay, if I recall correctly, that this item was brought up at our last meeting, that there are public safety issues that are not related to licensed premises. So we wanted to have a discussion with our police department liaison, with Sergeant Auckland, about those public safety issues that are not related to a premise.
Sure, so I did look around at the call for service and I did speak to other supervisors both on early call, late call, and night shift as it comes to the street takeovers that we've been seeing. It just so happens that all the street takeovers that we've seen, while much more minimal than what we discussed prior, have somewhat related to licensed premises. So there will be some that I read off here and some that also bleeds into my licensed premise report. So I believe our last meeting was, I think, on June 26th. But on the 23rd, we did have 80 to 100 people who looked underage and disorderly and went to Doobie's Beer Joint parking lot, where staff was notified that they were in the parking lot. Staff locked the door because they did not want issues and called us, which is exactly what we want to see. It's the preference of public safety over maybe trying to serve them. So as soon as we showed up, the group did move along, and I don't believe we had any more issues with them that night.
No arrests were made or anything like that?
No arrests were made. I don't think any citations were made. I think as soon as the squads. It's my understanding that when this first squad showed up, they parked a little bit further back to wait for additional officers, and then they started to get the point, and the car started to move on. We did have a different story on the 4th of July, the night of the 4th, so I did speak to a lot of officers referenced that night. I myself worked only on a drone assignment, and some of the experienced officers and sergeants I spoke to said that it was one of our busiest 4th of July nights that we've had. We held over one of our shifts, so we actually had 3 shifts working at once, and then 2 over. Really hard, got held over, we had about 30 officers on the road. We were still barely able to keep up with calls for service. We did have about 100 or more people respond to the area of 16th and Packard, in which there was multiple reports of fighting and people with weapons. Officers made a lot of they surrounded the area and tried to make a lot of announcements and call outs for people to vacate the area. They did not. They tried to physically move people along and encourage them to move, and they would just take up a new spot. So they then made multiple announcements that if the orderly group did not move, that we were going to use oleo resin capsicum or pepper spray. Still nobody moved. So a fire extinguisher of OC spray was used that night. It did eventually move the group over to 10th and Pearl. So we went over to the area of 10th and Pearl, where again, it was an unlawful assembly. We gave multiple warnings. Numerous agencies responded to assist the crowd. Throughout the night, officers were continually dispatched numerous calls for service involving large crowds, fights, man with a gun, and shots called. Officers began moving crowds with OC spray in the area of 16th and Phillips. Officers observed the same crowd traveling to the area of the 1100 block of Washington Avenue, mainly Latino's 1100 Washington Avenue, and Citgo gas station 1130 Washington Avenue. The crowd was also visiting Select 627 bar at 1111 Washington Avenue. Officer initially moved the crowd out to Tino's due to a non-consensual trespass that was previously in place. Spoke to the worker at Citgo who advised he would also like the property closed and all people were moved. These people were moved off the property and cleared. However, upon officers leaving, numerous calls for service came in regarding large crowds and fighting. Due to the crowd reaching approximately 300 people, an all-county response was requested. Officers began responding, giving commands from a supervisor's vehicle. They were notified that it was an unlawful assembly and that anybody remaining would be subject to OC. Numerous commands were made. While on scene, numerous ordinance violations were observed, such as open intoxicants, loitering, material destruction, parking violations, loud music, coupled with numerous criminal violations such as disorderly conduct and assaults. OC was deployed in the area saturation style, pointed at the ground in order to assist in clearing. Despite these efforts, physical fights were witnessed by officers on scene and had to be broken up. This incident took just over an hour to clear out, consisting of 9 squads from outside of the city scene, with approximately 11 RAP squads for a total of 20 squads. Numerous residents in the 1000 block of Pearl Street, thanks to myself, this is Sergeant Ulicki that wrote this, for moving the people alone as they were not welcome to their homes. Since then, we haven't had another takeover. I was told that a lot of these vehicles were from Illinois. Multiple arrests and citations were made, but the problem is when you have that many people, just grabbing one person out of the crowd can create more of a crowd mentality and lead to somewhat of a riot. So you have to treat it with a certain nuance. Act.
So this is not the first time when there have been huge crowds in the 1100 block of Washington Avenue in the gas station at Tino's, is that what?
Tino's, 1000 block of Pearl. There's a couple problem houses on the 1000 block of Pearl. So they'll go to the problem houses and they'll say, no, we live here, or we have permission to be here, and then the officers have to make the decision of whether to continue to address people on the street. or to say, okay, who is in charge of this house, because now you're gonna receive a citation for adding to the disorderly area. But you're kind of herding cats at that point.
How many officers do we have on our roster right now?
That's a tricky thing to say. I believe we're somewhere near 170 or 180, but you have to keep in mind that the sworn personnel count includes about 14 people who were in the academy.
Okay,
It counts 14 people who may be in field training and aren't manpower yet. And while they're in training, they can slow down calls for service. If you're teaching somebody how to do stuff, you can't clear calls as quick. It counts people who are on injury, people who are on administrative leave, if maybe they got into a critical incident. We have a minimum staffing of 8 officers per shift. We'll try to reach that as well as possible
8 officers per shift.
with an overlap, so shifts will overlap, so you'll have a minimum of 16 per shift. Too.
When I left council in 2020, there we had street strength of 205.
I recall that from Cider outside, there was 2, but
So I know I wanted the committee and anybody interested in observing the committee to have the information about the problem that we're having with public safety issues outside of the licensed premises. I also really need to know what we as council members can do to assist the police department in curbing this, because I think one of our most important functions as aldermen and as a police department is public safety. So are there any recommendations that the sergeant would have for this committee as to what we might be able to recommend, either as far as ordinances, policies, budgeting, anything? You don't have to do it tonight, but I'd like you to be prepared to present that to us along with continued discussions about the public safety unrelated to the licensed premise.
sure, city attorney, Conklin and I could have a discussion about it, because obviously we want to make sure that it's equitable for people, constitutional, and follows all the guidelines that are necessary.
And I know there were some other, I don't know what to call those big skirmishes that took place in some of the public parking lots prior to the 4th of July. I think those were posted on social media at some of our parks. And I know
I'm
the
not
chief.
sure. Point towards them, I could see if there's calls for service.
Oh, Kelly, do you recall where those were?
North Beach.
There was North Beach, and then I think, was it at one of the parks, Graceland Park?
Yeah.
Or Lockwood?
I know that we were having issues with those locations. You know which specific dates, and if it was after the last,
I think the chiefs has that, because he mentioned that when he came in prior to the meeting, so 4th of July must have been horrific for our fine officers, and I want you to convey to them the appreciation that the members of this committee has for their efforts, and we believe they are heroes. And we want to do everything we can to support what they're doing, support them.
well, we appreciate that, because I'm not sure if you guys realize how difficult the parade can be in conjunction with the fireworks, but you'll often have almost the entire police department force. So you'll have people work night shift and then work inside the parade. They'll get some sleep, coming to work the fireworks, and then work the regular shift.
Yep.
So it is a long day for a lot of officers.
Yeah, I served on the Fourth Festival Board for many, many years. So for a lot of those years, I was down at the VIP area and down by the Oasis and would mingle with the police officers. And you really get a feel of the adrenaline that pumps through them, being on high alert from morning until night. You have problems during the parade too?
There was a speeder that got into the parade route. He was trying to get out. He was detained, his vehicle was towed, and everything like that. He received 2 citations. He did manage to get out of the parade route this week.
Well, I can tell you, I watch the fireworks now from, I don't know what 100 block, 1800 block of Michigan Boulevard, just a little bit north of High Street on Michigan Boulevard. And the police had done a wonderful job, and I think it's very helpful, although I know there were a lot of complaints about no parking down by the lakefront. I think it makes a difference for the officers to be able to have control over that. There was also no parking on the east side of Michigan Boulevard and on the east side of Main Street, along by the zoo and whatnot. And I think the reason for that is if you have cars parked on both sides and people being crazy, you can't get the squads through there. So this was the first year that I saw that, and I want to commend the police department for those efforts too. And I know it was inconvenient for people that wanted to get down to the lakefront to watch the fireworks. But there was a reason for that, and their safety was paramount. So, and I think, I don't know if you're getting any feedback. I haven't gotten any other than the complaints about having to walk.
No, I know that they do establish emergency corridors for not only police vehicles, but ambulances as well, so we can get those to and from, because obviously our beach, just the way our city is set up, can get cut off very easily from emergency services, so we do have the intention of these spots open.
Is there also someone at the PD that kind of monitors social media for these spontaneous events where hundreds of people show up from Illinois at different parking lots and parks?
We do have people who are in criminal intelligence and who monitor social media.
Okay.
But I, within the course of my work, they do not have that.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to play the game of working night shifts, so I can still work at the bars, and I just barely overlap with day oneers, so.
Well, thank you for the conversation. I'm sure the committee members have questions and comments, and please help yourself to jump right in.
Thank you for the awesome job that the department did.
In regards to the takeovers and whatnot, I know we're not the only city experiencing issues with this. Do you know of any communication this department has had with neighboring cities, Kenosha, Milwaukee, about what they're doing to help deter these, or to help, put these under control?
I believe Attorney Pablo has been in conversations with other jurisdictions.
So, it's actually not me, it's Attorney Zivikowski. She does the municipal prosecution. So she has reached out to other jurisdictions to see what types of municipal ordinances that either they are enforcing or creating to cut down on these large crowds. It's my understanding, though, please correct me if I'm wrong, that we don't have the vehicles doing donuts yet in the middle of streets, like they have in some other communities, but we are, as an office, looking into all of the things that we can do, either enforcing more ordinances or creating new ordinances that would work to cut this down. Attorney Zivikowski is the subject matter expert on municipal prosecution. So I can't really go into much more detail than that, but we are aware of the problem and looking into ways that other communities have combated it.
Oh, yes. Oh, I have a hand up. Oh, Alderman Fraser, go ahead. You jump right in.
Oh, you're still muted, Alder Frazier.
Oh, okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Okay. So I've been watching a lot of the chaos that ensued on the 4th. And I do want to echo the same sentiments of commending our police department. I guess my only question is, I want to do a ride along. So how could I go about setting that up? Or who
You
could I
could
talk to?
You can contact the police chief.
Okay,
Yeah,
Ramirez. Okay,
yep, you can contact him. He'll set that up for you.
okay,
Just
yeah.
include preferred date and time.
Just include
A preferred date and time.
Roger. Okay, all right, I'll do that. I appreciate it.
Okay, and I do believe one of our committee members just did a ride along. So it's something that the police department does welcome. So I'm glad you want to reach out.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Another question, sorry, Alder Carmen. In your opinion, with this issue going on and the response, the fantastic response that our police department has had to this, in what way or where do you see it? How much does it diminish your capacity to police the city? When you have to hyper focus on these areas with such large individuals, would you say it's hard to put a percentage on it, but do you think you're at a 70% for the rest of the city right now, that's trying to deal with this, or how disruptive is this actually to the daily operations of the police department and their ability to police the city?
So any newer officer, when they start out, has to learn a fine line of when they can do proactivity. So proactive would be stopping a speeder, a noise violation, and something like that. Can't do that when almost everybody is busy. You have to have some people available and you learn the geography of the city, on the north side, because on the south side, how quick it's get to you and how quick can you split off to help somebody else. So when all officers are dealing with something, especially when we're pulling from the county, then you not only you quickly lose your ability to be proactive, go after the speeders, the quality of life issues that citizens see and feel. But you also lose the ability to respond to emergency calls for service. So we're very detail oriented on where we place officers when we place them. We just a couple of years ago redid the districts for the city of Racine to make sure that they are in line for the calls for service that we need to get to and getting officers there as quickly as possible. But if you take up all the north side squads, take up all the south side squads, I mean, how quick can a deputy get here? Because typically there's only one or two that are east of the interstate. And we can only handle so many calls for service at once.
So it's been very disruptive to your operation.
Very much so, yeah.
Thank you.
So it's not uncommon for the county to come in and assist in the city of Racine. I see county sheriffs frequently. So when you're conveying our appreciation, please also include the sheriff's department for what they do. I know that they have really picked up I don't say a lion's share, but they have picked up a lot of the lack of officers that we have
Yes.
over the last couple of years, and we appreciate their help and assistance.
I believe they assisted with the 4th of July as well. They've been very involved in violent crime reduction initiative. And we also received assistance, mutual aid assistance on regular calls for service from Calvin and Mount Pleasant.
Alderman Harmon.
I can get into it.
No, go ahead. If you have a
Thank
question.
you so much. I only have like 2 questions. First, I also want to commend the police officers for really good job that they did, especially in 4th of July. The parade went smoothly, but overall, thank you. My first question is just a clarification. So the 4th of July incident, did it start, where did it start? Did you say that it started on 16th and Packard? Is that where, and then it moved to Pearl, and then it moved to Washington? Is that?
So we received hundreds of calls for service that night, and outside of working fireworks, I did not work that night. So the first that I could find would be the large gathering at 16th and Packard. But I know it's hard to pinpoint exactly where it starts, because I know at North Beach during the fireworks, we always have a huge issue with a large congregation of teens fighting on the hill. So it's hard to pinpoint if anybody from 16th and Packard was at the congregation on the hill, but specifically where I observed that we started to have the biggest issues with the crowd was starting.
Yeah, I just wanted clarification. I didn't know if that's, and I really like the practice. I don't know if it had been training or whatever, where the business, if there is a large gathering, lock doors and call police. And I think on 16th and Packard, that is Twins. Do you know if they closed?
It would have been long close this time.
Okay, it had been long closed. So the calls that initiated didn't come from them, but surrounding residents, it seems.
I'm not sure if they called, I choose, sometimes when I print out the reports, there's 9 different reports. And I choose the one that I think has the most relevant information to the council members, this fifth. So for this report, I just have a supplement report, I don't have a listener report, and I don't have the initial data from the callers. So I can't say that it's been considered to the call.
Give me one last question. Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to take this. I know that there was another incident, right earlier part of the summer around when there was some water gun fight, balloon fight or something like that. And I heard that it had started through the social media post or something like that. I know that you said that there is a subcommittee that looks into that. Are you able to, is it a proactive or reactive? Do they look after something like that, or are they able to tell before it starts? And then that's.
So it would be both, it would be after, as we've learned from the situation and now something. Like, we don't normally have a lot of water fights that get police attention.
Right.
I know right now repasses or something that we really not heard because there can be retaliation issues at funerals and things like that, so that's what CCS is about here. I was shift commander the day this water fight happened, so I did personally as shift commander, the building where I'm doing that, I did reach out to Twins, I called them and asked for assistance in trying to move people along. And told me we've been trying to get people out of here the whole time. I did pull up the city on camera that I had access to the police department, and I saw them outside actively cleaning up all the litter. And they were trying to assist us with moving people on. You have police officers out there, especially when we got watching around the traffic, because it did start to hold up hundreds and hundreds of cars. Personally, I think that the best thing that the city could do for the citizens would try to put a splash pad or some sort of an activity in that area, not on 16th, but the city property, that's a whole different situation.
Like the cop house.
Not necessarily a cop house, there's plenty of properties that don't have this owner in the area. But something where you could go and play, it's not any traffic, and have some sort of line of sight.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments or discussion from committee members? This was so healthy and I really appreciate it. And what I'd like to see happen now is that we make a recommendation from the police department, city attorney's office to come back with some kind of recommendations for this committee, how we can best assist them in helping generate a environment for better public safety, I guess. So if the committee agrees, we can make that motion and then defer that item to whatever length of time it takes for the attorney's office and police department to come up with those recommendations for this committee. So we could either on policy, on ordinances, on budget, any of those items, those recommendations. And then when we receive those recommendations, then of course, all of the aldermen from not only this committee, but from the entire council will be able to weigh in on any thoughts that we would have on that. But at this point, we can just defer this item.
Just a clarification question for the city attorney and Sergeant Malcolm. What is a reasonable amount of time is if we're gonna defer it, so we know it's a month, 2 months? Cause that's a lot to look through, so. And kind of see where our needs are and how we can either alter ordinances, introduce them, whatever it may be to help better assist our police department and making our community safer, but that is a monumental look through, so.
So I will say, as I said earlier, I'm looping our municipal prosecutor in on this, who knows our ordinances related to civil violations like this much more.
Okay.
I don't know what her schedule is. It's something that I would be collaborating with her. I know based on prior knowledge working at the city, a lot of these issues occur over the summer. I think if we were to push it beyond the summer, it would be something that, all of the incidents may have occurred. And, we're looking at the fall and they're all dying down because it's cold outside. So I don't want to push it too far out. I think next meeting might be a little too early. But I would like to get, something to you all at some point in the next month or so. I'll defer to Sergeant Auckland on his timetable. I just don't want to push it up too far or have it too soon.
What I'd like to see happen is that the deferred items stay on our agenda as a deferred item.
Okay.
So we will see it every 2 weeks when we convene. And it will be on our deferred, and then whenever they're ready, then they can fill us in on what those recommendations are.
Okay.
So would that be possible to have at the bottom of our agenda, just a deferred items?
Do we have to?
Yeah, it would just appear on the regular agenda.
Yeah.
The committee would just defer it.
Yeah,
So it'll just appear, I could move it towards the bottom,
bottom,
if that's
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But we will also have, I'm hoping going forward that we will continue to have a section where we discuss public safety issues unrelated to leases premises, if the committee would like that.
I agree with that. And just to be clear, we would, at every meeting, we would then defer that again until they are ready to give it.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I think there'll be two separate ones, or maybe not.
However, the committee prefers it. I mean, I was thinking if you deferred this item, this literal item 066925 would just appear
Okay.
everyone. But
Okay, but I would like all the council to know when we receive those recommendations. So that if they wanted to attend the PSL meeting or convey their thoughts.
sure, whenever, I guess, the attorneys and police office get it ready to present, if you could please let me know and then
You can attach
either
it to the
chair
agenda.
or attach to the agenda
Perfect.
and that way it would be noticed properly.
Perfect, thank you.
A motion for that.
A motion for that?
Motion.
That sounds like a good motion.
Motion to defer, I think.
Sounds like my kind of motion. Okay, we have a motion for that in a second. Any discussion on that?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Right, thank you, and motion passes. All right, next item.
Right, item 0660-25 for the licenses premise report.
Okay, here we go again, Sergeant. It's all you.
So, and you'll see I completed this report on 6 in order to get it to the, clerk's office and to have everybody able to review it at the time. I do want to say that that means that if everything on here is the fit and prior. We did have an incident happen at select 627, on the 6th that I would like to speak to, so it is
Okay.
not on the report. On the 6th at 10:55 PM, we received a call, sending officers to select 627. That call was by 2 named complainants stating that there was underage people inside the bar. Officers went into the bar and began to check IDs and did not find any underage people. But one officer who responded, who also works off duty at the schools, recognized that when he went into the building, somebody left who he believed to be a juvenile and who he knew by name. He then left the bar and located that juvenile across the street. Let me just find it here. He identified her, saw her in the parking lot at Tino's, and then she advised him that she was not parted before she entered select 627. And therefore, both the doorman, security, and the bartender were cited for underage person on premises.
Okay, so we can't really call them in on that because they're already in negotiations with the.
So, I can give you an update on that. We were in negotiations, for having them have a suspension. They were not appearing in the licensed premise report, so I thought that we were on a good track to get them back on track. They are in the licensed premise report numerous times and have a underage citation at this point. And they've also been, starting to avoid my calls and not responding, so, we're going to move forward with the due process, recommendation, or the due process filing and convening the due process board based on that. I thought we could reach a resolution. It appears from the events of the last week or so that, they are not willing to put in their part to clean up, their act and be a, a well-run bar that makes the city better.
Do we have a timeline on the due process? Kind of, just a,
So I will be writing up a complaint, a formal complaint that needs to be served on them. And then we will schedule with the due process board. Once the complaint is filed with the clerk, I believe we have 30 days to convene the due process board.
okay, I don't believe that the due process has convened since we have a couple new members to the council and the committee. So could you kind of explain to the new members of the committee what the due process board is? I don't know if you need to say who's comprised of, but how many members there are, where they kind of come from?
Sure, so the due process board is a board that is established by the city. They hear a variety of license revocations. They don't hear all of them, they hear some of them. Most of their specialty is in alcohol licenses. They have a non-voting member of the Tavern League who provides some level of insight related to the proper running of the bar. They have one alderman who is not a member of this board. I believe it is Alder Mack currently. He was just appointed, I believe, a month or two ago. And then they have, I'll tell you the names of the other people. They are all citizens that live in the city of Racine that are generally upstanding people who are
Do you need me to read them for you?
That'd be great.
Sure. So we have Alder Mack as the alder serving on the board, Brian F. O'Connell, Thomas Finger, Kevin Coey is the Tavern Lake non-voting member, Kimberly Payne, and Janet Gil Hernandez. So the board is currently full.
So the process will look like I will write a complaint based on what I think we can prove. Some of the calls for service, some of the allegations are going to be based on some things that are going to be hard to have testimony to establish. Some of them are going to be fairly straightforward. I'm going to present a case, and then the due process board will determine what punishment, or if any, is appropriate. They can do anything from I believe the shortest period of time is either 10 or 15 day suspension, up to 90-day suspension. They can do a revocation, or they can say, we don't see any violations here, please continue operating. They have a variety of tools at their disposal regarding suspension and revocation.
If a revocation is recommended, does that come to this committee then?
It goes to the common council. Licensee that is going to be revoked has the ability to submit comments to the common council. And then the common council will vote on whether to revoke the license or even to suspend the license. Any recommendation from that board will go to the common council for final action.
Okay, so that comes directly from the due process board, not from this committee.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions on that?
Clarification, was it? The two strikes that triggered the meeting with you, the city attorney's office, or three?
So it is 2 strikes in a 6-month period
Okay.
or 3 in a 1-year period. So it is both 2 or 3. And then it is recommended by this committee for me to look into to see if we can reach a resolution, and if we cannot, then we go to a due process hearing.
There's a formal, just filing, there's nothing that prohibits us from filing a formal expression of concern today.
There is nothing that prohibits it. I will say that the filing would be a little duplicative, but there's nothing that would be improper about it. It would just again forward it onto my office.
Which would allow you, when you are building this for the due process, board to include.
So any violation that they've had within a reasonable period of time, whether it was forwarded on to us or not, would be something that we could pursue suspension or revocation for. So just because there is not a formal expression of concern, doesn't mean that I can't include it in the complaint and elicit testimony from officers or other witnesses that I were to call. This formal expression of concern system is a flag saying, hey, we think this is serious. It doesn't mean that that's the only thing that this committee, my office, or the due process board would think is serious about behavior of any license.
Thank you.
Any other issues on your report you want to bring to our attention?
I do want to add that in this report for the underage drinking, the officer ends his report by saying the following complaint numbers between 7/5/25 and 7/6/25 should also be noted as they document constant calls for service and the issues that the Racine Police Department handles regarding patrons from Select 627. Here's a complaint number. Officers responded to Tino's for a large crowd trespassing in the parking lot. Open intoxicants were observed. One patron was arrested for disorderly conduct, resisting obstructing, and citation for alcohol in a public place. Another complaint number is listed. Numerous officers responded to the Citgo gas station across the street from Select 627 for a large crowd gathering. As officers were clearing them out, a fight broke out and parties were detained. Citations were issued. Another complaint number is cited, and this is the one where the OC spray was used.
Yeah.
Another complaint number is listed. Numerous officers responded to the 1100 block Washington Avenue for a crowd. Crowd ended up moving down to 11th and Pearl, where more officers were requested. Parties were detained but released. The crowd then gathered in the parking lot and had to be cleared out again. This was on 7/6 at 2 a.m. So this is the next day, and that took a half an hour. And there's another complaint number. Numerous officers responded to the 1100 block of Washington Ave, specifically the Citgo gas station. For a report of a large crowd in a gas station parking lot. There were multiple callers stating that there were 80 people with several cars parked and being loud with music. A majority of the crowd was moved along, but approximately 20 people stayed on private property on the corner of 12th and Wash. I guess what that would be in the east corner.
So all those that involve 627, those citations involved Do those go to the attorney's office to be incorporated in the complaint?
They can be, they do not automatically do, but if they are something that I believe that my office can prove, then it would be included in the complaint.
Okay,
So, and I believe the citation would be handled by the municipal prosecutor, considering it's just issued less than a week ago. I don't know if she's even aware of it because of the number of citations she handles on a weekly basis, but it is something that would be addressed by her as well through our municipal court system.
so there were a couple things that jumped out at me on the report, other than what's going on in Washington. Oh, you go ahead, yeah.
So we did talk about Dewey's Beer Joint on the 23rd, as far as them locking the door, which I appreciate. I did assign an officer to go to Grand Lux. I told him every week or two to go in and do the door pull, see if they're open. He did go there June 25th and they were not open. And it's been on vacation, so that is the only one he's been able to do.
Okay.
Officers did respond out to Kayla's Bar, June 27th. The actual shooting was in the 2000 block of Russet Street, but it should be noted that the victim was leaving Kayla's Bar from the rear of the bar. In watching the footage from the investigation, I do see patrons with drinks walking around the rear parking lot, which is not a spot where they're supposed to be drinking.
Okay,
And there is staff holding with them, or at least some. of
There is
them.
staff
A
with them?
Kayla's T-shirt that says staff.
okay,
That same night, we went to select 627, for an ordinance violation, that was the doors being opened past 11 p.m. We have a lot of issues with them playing music, and the music reaches across the street to Tino's, which serves as one big party for the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I wanted officers to go in there, get the name of the staff person we spoke to, give them an on-paper report verbal warning, and let them know that any further violations of this will result in a citation, so that's what this call for service is. To my knowledge, they have not had the door open since.
is Tino's usually open or closed at the time when?
Tino's is closed and has not consent to trespass, they don't want anybody in their lot after hours.
What can we do to assist them?
We've been going there and writing tickets and
My
clearing
goodness.
it out, problem is you have to find, when it's busy, it's also busy.
Yeah.
So then you have to find enough officers in order to safely go ahead.
Yeah.
And go through the parking lot. And start writing citations. Also on June 27th, we went back to Kayla's Bar, so the other one was after midnight, and this one was about 11 p.m., so less than a 24-hour period for an aggravated assault. Police responded referenced a male who believed he was shot or stabbed. It turned out he was hit in the face with a glass while inside the bar and been placed into a medically induced coma due to the extent of the injury. The investigation is ongoing on that. Both the suspect and the victim were in the bar at the time of the assault.
Has there been any further information regarding the victim since the 27th?
I have no further. No, it usually gets written up and sent up to the bureau, and I don't have very much interaction with the bureau.
How far is that?
Kayla's?
Yes. We call them.
Yeah, I think we received and filed.
If I have the information for that pulled up, this committee issued a formal expression of concern on April 30th, 2025. Then there was a deferral and Kayla appeared in person, the licensee for Kayla's Bar on May 28th. This was regarding not having the license on person, the operator's license on one of her bartenders. There was a citation issued, this committee received and filed it on May 28th. So that would have been the first strike. As I've said for Alder Pavone earlier, it's 2 within a 6-month period or 3 within a 1-year period.
So should we call in Kayla's and this would be, if they are received and filed, that would be the second in the 6th month? Is that right? Am I doing my math right?
Yes, sir.
I'll repeat.
I have a question. On what ground was, based on what we heard? What other, well, they did have a staff person out there with the alcohol in the parking lot. So I think I just answered my own question, but I don't wanna hold the bar responsible for what happened down the street.
So the 2000 block of Russet, that's right behind. So that
Yes.
parking lot must have butt Russet on the other side.
It's essentially the area, yeah, so Russet is just to the west of Lathrop. And it is essentially the area between Kayla's, I believe there's a liquor store there and Donald's.
Well, there is
And an open
something
park.
there at that bar. There's always right there.
Alcohol.
In this, outside.
So one thing that could prevent some of the issues we're seeing with multiple establishments, and we can only give suggestions and see if they want to follow them, is ID scanners. Much like police officers have seen accountability on our end and saying, with body cams and saying, no, this happened, and I can show you the body cam to prove it. Let's take Select 627, for instance, if they tell us, no, we ID her and she had a passable ID, here is the ID scanner, to prove it. Or much to Kayla's, if they had an ID scanner and suspect is in the bar, we can immediately see who the suspect is and pull up a photo of him. Or anybody who thinks about committing a crime there, anybody who is out to do harm and to cause trouble would maybe avoid that establishment once they realize that their ID is being stolen.
Is this something that your department could recommend to Kayla's, or is that something that we should call them in and make a recommendation to them for those ID scares?
It can go either way. We can make a recommendation. I have a long list of things that can help, bars from avoiding issues, both, problems inside their bar, problems outside their bar, just, suggestions, and it's up to them if they want to.
I kind of like the idea of that discussion taking place in committee.
With verification from city attorney, is it something that we would have to just recommend to these people as they're here, or is there anything that would prevent us from drafting an ordinance for adherence to the local laws about, like, per se, and I.
So, there's two questions there. I'll answer the first one first. The committee can recommend as part of a, plan or policy to Kayla's that they do get a ID scanner. We can't require it as part of their license because they already have a license. We can't change it mid-cycle, and even if we were to change it at a renewal period, there's a procedure we have to go through. So we can't just, spring on them. You have to do this starting from today. In ordinance, this is the first that I have heard of this idea. I would need to look into that. There are certain alcohol license ordinances we can enact, and there's certain that we can't. It's a very complicated thing based on quite literally 100 years of case law saying what we can and can't do. So I can't give you an answer off the top of my head, but that is something that I'll look into and get back to you.
I would appreciate that, thank you.
Just a quick question, is there any cost to doing this, or we're putting a financial burden on the bar?
There is some cost. I'm not, very knowledgeable on what the initial cost. And then you can also maintain with a monthly subscription. Because, like any technology you get, there's different tiers of it. And what the updated subscription service does, or the updated, updates that you pay for, is they can detect fake IDs. And obviously new IDs for every state are made every single year, and the updates should help with those fake IDs. Fake IDs are getting more and more technologically advanced. But the ID scanners can dramatically cut down.
Missy, do you have an average for what a citation would be for something like that? So if it's, they didn't ID somebody or it's a fake license, but what is the average citation, the amount of the citation? The $250, is it $50?
So it can depend on if the fake ID is passable or not. If it's a passable fake ID, then it's not really something that we can cite the bar.
Where?
Then you would cite the actual individual trying to use the fake ID and you would counsel it. If it's a bad fake ID, there is a citation, but to be honest, it's not something that we write very often.
Okay.
I've never personally written it.
So I can add that the citation for allowing an underage on a licensed premise is $313.
Thank you.
Any other items on the report that you'd like to bring to our attention?
Yes. On June 29th, we responded out to Taste of Soul. We had a refused complainant because the music was too loud. Officers observed that the doors were open with a music system near the door, and it was playing loud music. Nobody on scene had an operator's license and therefore they shouldn't have been serving alcohol. The people were drinking alcohol inside and patrons were smoking hookah, which is a form of tobacco and is also against the law. So the bar was shut down by the night because nobody could serve alcohol. And then that officer did not write citations because he did not know which citations to write in that. I had emailed him, he's on his off, when he comes back, he's going to write citations and let me know which ones he chose, because he still has discretion, I just let him leave the options. And then on July 5th, we went to do this beer joint. Staff and an unknown caller reported a large fight, 40 to 50 people outside the bar. On arrival, officers observed no active fight. So 6 officers did clear the crowd. We conducted a license bounce check where they did not observe any violations. But one staff member in particular was extremely argumentative and trying to not let police do a license inspection, saying that they were not closed. I have since called that bar myself and let them know during regular hours, this will not stand, that cannot happen again, if they are subject to inspection within reasonable hours. And they were very clear, they understood and they would let her know that night.
Thank you for what you do.
All I have.
Lord.
I do have one to add. It was brought to my attention that Marco's on Douglas Avenue has not been operating. It's MARKO, and it's in the 3000 blocks by McDonald's.
I've seen them not open and they're supposed to.
Yeah, so they have not been opened, and there was a question about if Marco has, who is the agent, if he has operators. He doesn't need a license, right, Tara?
Correct. So to be an agent of an establishment, you do not need to have an operator's license, but you do have to take the responsible beverage course and provide proof of that to be an agent.
Okay, so we can check on that to see, he would provide that document, you would have that?
Yes.
But then the other part of it is, I understand that, that Marco leased out his business to Jeff Anton, and I don't know the spelling of the name. So if we can check to see who's operating the bar. And if you could maybe report back to us at next, I don't want to call them in before I have more accurate information, because this was someone that just called me. I don't
So
know.
they are in business, they're just not in business by the agent who's on. the
Correct. Evidently, the bar was closed down for a lengthy period of time, not operating, and I did witness that myself. And then, rather than the current agent opening the bar, he leased it out to someone else, and that someone else, this Jeff Anton, did not come in for a change of agent. And I believe he would have to do that, correct, if he was to lease?
Correct. So if he was going to be the agent of the establishment, he would have to come in and open that.
And the current agent, if he leased it to someone, he could not remain the agent, or could he?
And maybe you can clarify with me, my understanding, and it's been a while, is that the agent should be who's operating the business, right, on a regular basis. However, I don't know that we have any ordinances or state statute specific to who must be an agent.
So there is a state law that requires a agent to be the one operating the business. They cannot give their license to someone else, they cannot sell it to someone else, they cannot let someone operate a business on their behalf. That doesn't mean that they can't hire a general manager or a store manager or something like that. But they have to remain in control of the premises. So if he has leased it to someone else and he has washed his hands of it, that would be a violation. If he has hired a general manager because he, for whatever reason, wants to still be in control, but doesn't want to do the day-to-day operation, that would be appropriate. So it's gonna depend on what exactly he's done.
Okay, so is it possible to check on that, Sergeant? So rather than call them, maybe we can just check on that and we'll take it from there. Anything else on the report that anyone is concerned with?
Is this where we're filing these promos or we're just saying?
We're going to move to approve the report, and then the next item will be. Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the licensed premise report. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item, which is supposed to be in the final item.
Item 0661-25, any formal expression of concern or other actions pursuant to the police report.
Okay, do we have we can't do anything with 627, correct?
Motion to file a formal expression of concerns with Gail's Bar.
Second.
Okay, any other items? Any other on there that we want
I
to?
would also motion to file a formal expression of concern for Taste of Soul, especially for the hookah violation.
Second.
If we could handle one motion and then,
Yeah.
so we don't
That's a
have.
lot to ask.
Yeah, so we don't have overlap.
We're trying to.
That was my fault, that was my fault. So the first motion was to file a formal expression of concern for Kayla's Bar. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Aye. Motion passes. Okay, any other motions?
Motion to file a formal expression of concern for Taste of Soul.
Second. Motion is second to file a formal whatever.
Expression of interest. We all know. Sorry.
Thank you. I just went brain dead. Okay, any discussion on that motion to bring in Taste of Soul? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. We do need to go back to a couple items. I don't think the folks showed up. That the first one was Lake and Hess. Doesn't look like she's appeared. I think this was her first invite in, so if the committee so desires, we can ask the clerk to send her another letter and bring her back in in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I thought you said right now that.
We need a motion for that, yeah.
Just to defer the other.
Motion to refer. Okay, we have a motion.
I mean. Just.
We have two
Second.
motions and a second.
That. Thank you, Dave.
She wanted it official. Yeah, motion and a second to defer this item. And then there was another one as well.
I do have a question, Alder.
Okay.
Regarding this for the clerk's office, how far in advance of our meetings do we send these letters to appear?
Send them as soon as possible, but it's tricky because sometimes I'm even sending letters before they're introduced to council if I can, because then I only have that day and a half. So I mean, to be honest with you, as soon as we do the minutes, if it's a deferred item, as soon as we do the minutes tomorrow, we will also go ahead and send the letter. So defers are a little bit easier because they'll have 2 weeks. The new ones are a little bit harder because I'm trying to send the letter before we introduce them. Even though if council switches it, then I have to call and cancel, so as soon as I can, which
Okay.
is pretty quick, but yeah.
Cause I know I've sent mail intercity before and sometimes it takes 4 days
Oh,
for
my
them to get.
goodness, yeah.
So that's why I'm like, we have a good amount of people that don't show up on the first time, so I'm like, thank you for the clarification.
Well, that was a great question, and Alderman, is there something that we can do that would make it easier?
I don't think so from my end. We usually maybe try to get the minutes
Yeah.
done the next morning and send the letters out, like I said, those afternoon or the next morning after that, but we send them certified as well as regular, just in case they're not there to sign for them. They'd still receive the letter. So we do try to send it both ways to at least try to notify them as soon as possible. Thank you for the question. I can't think of any.
So at the time that they put the application in with the clerk's office, right, you have to receive it, you have to look it over. So there's time, cause I was thinking like, can we give them one at that time? Or like, here, you're gonna appear at the next one, cause that's probably where it's gonna go. And they can sign whatever they need to sign there, if they've received it.
So we have in the past kind of tried to predict public safety and licensing meetings and which ones you'll go to. It's a little bit harder now because we have the good neighbor meeting as well as the
Okay.
record check.
Okay,
So it's kind of I'm not gonna lie, there are sometimes where I'm like, okay, I hope we get this back in time for this to be complete before the committee. Because we enter them into our computer system Munis and then it goes through the workflow. But we need to allow time for specific licenses to either have a good neighbor or to complete the record check. So it's kind of tricky because depending on the other departments, doesn't necessarily guarantee I'll have that before I'm able to present it here.
I'm just wondering if that, in that case. Could we do something or create a policy where we automatically defer to 2 public safety licensing meetings from there? There's enough time for all that to get done, there's enough time for the letter to be sent out, enough time for them to be received, so we just minimize. This kind of
If that's
disruption.
something that the committee would like to discuss, I'd be happy to put on the agenda and kind of have something formally, right? I hate to push someone out when I know that I can get it done a little sooner. So it's kind of that balance of, can I do it? But to be very honest, in this committee meeting, there have been times where I'm like, okay, I hope we can get this one done, because I don't want to stall up business. But I mean, there might be a day I come before you and say, hey, look, we tried to get this through and I'm still missing a record check. That could happen. But in all due, right, trying to get businesses open and trying to get people into their jobs that feed their family, I do try very hard to just get them on an agenda.
Okay, just thank you, thank you.
So we have a motion to defer this item. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Then we also have the appearance of Erica Vargas for a new operator's license. This is her first invite. So I would entertain a motion to defer this item as well.
Move to defer.
Second.
Motion is seconded to defer. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes, and that concludes our business. So we are adjourned. Excellent meeting. Thank you so much, the attorney's office, the police department, the clerk's office. Appreciate all the work you do behind the scenes to make this meeting go as smoothly as it does. I appreciate that very much, and I never have to use this gap.